1111 happily ate. The next second, he was 10 meters away. A small hand reached out to Yuan Su. Chu Jun asked, "What about mine?" Yuan Su said he had no more. Chu Jun started acting spoiled. "I don't care. I want candy." Yuan Su quickly changed the topic. He said he was investigating something at Shinya Temple. Chu Jun immediately perked up. "Me too. So, are you going to help me?" Chu Jun asked. Yuan Su reluctantly said, "Maybe." Chu Jun smirked. A vague maybe isn't enough. Yuan Su didn't understand. "What do you mean?" Chu Jun moved closer to Yuan Su. "I prefer your body to your help." Yuan Su's expression hardened. The great demon was outwardly indifferent, but was actually a pervert, ignoring her taunting words. He was helpless and annoyed. He gave her a fox tribe's treasure as compensation. Chu Jun teased him again. Though Yuan Su looked cold, he still gave Chu Jun a fire tail. Chu Jun was surprised. This is a Yao clan healing item. It's said to only exist in ancient times. "Cousin, you're more powerful than I thought." Chu Jun moved closer to Yuan Su. "You're worthy of having my tail wrapped around you." Before she finished the sentence, Yuan Su's eyes turned cold again. Chu Jun stopped. "A man who I can taste the tail of." Yuan Su's face darkened. He turned and said, "I will take you to see Chu Quan at night." Chu Jun nodded, "Then call me at night." Chu Jun then looked at her own clothes. She got up. "I'm tired too." Yuan Su was shocked before hearing Chu Jun asked, "Cousin, which room should I sleep in?" Yuan Su sighed, "Any room will do." Chu Jun smiled, then, "I won't be polite." She walked into the master bedroom. Looking at Yuan Su's dumbfounded expression, Chu Jun leaned against the door frame. "Do you want to join me?" Yuan Su said, "No need." Chu Jun smiled. "I don't mind." Yuan Su quickly turned around. "I do." Chu Jun entered and closed the door. Still so shy, she muttered. In a corner of the yard, 1111 was stuffing his mouth with candy. He felt a shadow fall over him. Yuan Su was behind him. "What are you doing here?" 1111 honestly answered, "Eating candy." Yuan Su took the candy. "Too much candy is bad for you. You can't have it anymore." His tone was cold and oppressive like his dad's. 1111 wanted to cry, but held it back. The next second, he cried and ran away. Xiang brother is bad. I don't like him anymore." Yuan Su watched 1111. "Why is he so silly? Where did I go wrong?" In the room, 1111 cried, saying Xiang brother was bad. Chu Jun comforted the crying 1111, "If you keep crying, the demon will eat you." 1111 looked up with tears in his eyes. "I'm not afraid of demons. I just want candy." Chu Jun comforted him. She then flicked Zix's forehead. "Go to sleep. You'll dream of candy." Looking at the sleeping 1111, Chu Jun began to rest. Moo appeared. "Is your cousin reliable?" Chu Jun replied, "Who cares? He can be used. Anyway, I won't lose anything. Moreover, I've discovered something interesting about my cousin." Moo also realized that Yun Su chasing Zhu Q was likely to uncover something about him. Chu Jun suspects Yun Su's investigation has something to do with the Demon King. Moo suddenly remembered that after the fox spirit was discovered, it was said to be dismembered by the Chu family. But how did they manage to find him? Chu Jun couldn't remember either. Since being reborn, she only remembers hatred. She had forgotten many things before, but luckily, she had found Moo. Chu Jun's expression turned dark. She vowed that everything she had lost before, she would get back bit by bit. How could a dignified demon emperor be outmaneuvered? She gave birth to a child right after waking up, and her tail was cut off, but she doesn't even know who the child's mother is. After 1,000 years, she returned from the abyss, switching back and forth between her past self. The secrets of the past are gradually starting to surface. Ima welfare, the preceptor asked He Ching, why did the little fox appear in the demon realm? He Ching's son was back. He shouldn't have let the little ancestor take Chu Jun to Haoyang, but now I can only claim responsibility. The preceptor didn't say much, only told him to get his punishment with Qian Q. He Ching acknowledged his fault, but he was still curious. Should we still let Princess Chu Jun enter the Jinya temple? He asked tentatively. The preceptor replied curtly, whatever. I'm dreaming. Chu Jun, then take off the damn robe now. The entire capital knows, but Chu Jun seemed not angry, but a bit amused. The preceptor said he had something to take care of and dismissed He Ching. After He Ching left, a dark aura surrounded the preceptor, and he quietly smiled. All right, fox spirit. Chu Jun kicked open the door. She didn't expect Yan Su would hide the blood here. If they were caught, that dog would be cut again, right? Zhu and Yan Su walked in together, Zhu asking impatiently, what are you doing here? Chu Jun ignored him and turned to Yan Su. Does my cousin also have a grudge against the dog? Yan Su didn't reply directly, but asked, wouldn't it be good? Chu Jun got closer, whispering, very good. The more wicked you are, the more I like it. Zhu was irritated. Are you two done? Stop with the flirting. Yan Su directly asked Zhu, how do you undo the seal in the abyss? Zhu smirked. So, you're after the Demon King's position in the abyss. After the Demon Emperor's death, life for the demon race must be hard. Chu Jun was surprised. So, a tale of the Demon Emperor is sealed in the abyss. Yan Su was speechless. She immediately pulled out Zhu's prescription list. As she tightened her grip, Chu Jun directly shouted. She cried out in pain. After the pain passed, Zhu slowly answered Yan Su's question. It involves Chui. Chu Jun was confused. What does it have to do with him? How come I don't know anything? Zhu said, it's the demon object sealed with Chui house flesh and blood. The little fox on her shoulder suddenly spoke. She knows. Chui was amazing. Even my daddy praised him. My daddy never praises anyone. Yan Su's eyebrow twitched, not daring to interrupt. Chu Jun was very touched. Chuo had good taste, so he was his own kind. Too bad he's dead now. She turned to Yan Su. What does cousin think of Chui? Hearing the name Chui from Chu Jun, Yan Su had a strange feeling. Perhaps a remarkable man, he said hesitantly. Chu Jun laughed. To be called a female demon, she must be wicked to the bone. Zhu continued, and what about the wind? That demon emperor was said to have 9 tails. Chu Jun was slightly thoughtful. Tails were cut off. One was sealed in the abyss. Where are the other? Zhu shrugged. How would I know? Then, his eyes turned. However, I know who does know. Yan Su asked. Qinglong. Chu Jun looked at Yan Su in surprise. Moo commented, looks like this fox cousin knows a lot. Mentioning Qinglong, Zhu was a little unwilling. He's now being worshipped by the Chu family. She suddenly jumped on Zhu's head. Why is a fluffy-tailed being as powerful as the 4 saints locked up? Zhu felt a pinch and tried to slap Shishi away, but Shishi easily dodged. Then Zhu and the little fox started arguing. Who are you calling fluffy? I know, it must be because you have a bad mouth, right. Suddenly, a powerful force enveloped them. Chu Jun stood aside and asked Zhu, what happened to Chui house ancestors? Zhu looked confused. What ancestors? The demonic energy was nearly overwhelming. They were hidden in a corner, but they still couldn't help but fail. The moment it exploded, it scattered everything. The energy outside was so strong that the 2 men were unable to stay calm. The heavens give blessings. Chu Jun asked Zhu about Chui house ancestors. Zhu said, what ancestors? I've never heard of them. Maybe it's just another stupid Chu family descendant finding a way to blame it on. Yan Su spoke. It is said that Chui house 8 demon army commanders were unparalleled. Could it be them? Chu Jun looked at Yan Su. Have you heard of them, cousin? Yan Su continued. I heard that after Chui house death, they also self-destructed, following their master. Chu Jun's heart ached, but she still said carelessly, all dead. That's loyalty. Only Moo knew how much pain Chu Jun was feeling, not as calm as she looked. He just wanted to comfort Chu Jun. When Zhu opened his mouth again, not all of them are dead. It's said that a demon commander went alone to the capital to save Fulin, and was captured by the Chu family. They gouged his eyes out and sealed his dragon spirit. Luckily, the dragon clan rescued him. Chu Jun and Moo were shocked. Chu Jun's mind went blank, and her blood turned cold. She remembered what Chu Jun had said. The most precious thing about the dragon clan is the inner double eyelids. When opened, they show, when closed, they hide the eyes. And he was such a proud person. Fragments of memories swirled in Chu Jun's mind. The man smiled and asked, Chu, do you think this flower dress on me is pretty? He was Han Nong. In the past, he often teased her with flowers. So, the eyes and dragon spirit of the dragon clan were gone. Only hatred remained in Chu Jun's eyes. After a moment, Yan Su looked at Chu Jun. Anything else you want to ask? Chujun immediately turned to Yansu, of course. Where's my fat pig? Yansu avoided Chujun's gaze and only said, it will be delivered to you in 10 days. Chujun stared at Yansu, really? Yansu nodded, really. Chujun got closer to Yansu, breathing in his fragrance. Cousin, you're so charming. Yansu blushed instantly. Zukyu, unable to watch any longer, angrily yelled, stop flirting. Someone's coming. Only then did the two notice the movement outside. Chujun grabbed Yansu's hand, let's hide. Duo. The door was pushed open. Shu Tiance's underling, Shu Fei, led a group of people in. The underling said hesitantly, young master, it's not good to be here. What if the general finds out? Shu Fei told him to shut up. My elder brother is imprisoned. My father doesn't have time to care about these things. The two started rummaging through the room. Shu Fei complained, my brother told me not to mess with Shan Shan, but now he's the one messing things up. Yansu and Chujun squeezed into a small space behind the screen. It was so small there wasn't enough room. She could only lean on Chujun's head. Yansu secretly cast an invisibility spell, not daring to look at Chujun, but they were too close. Yansu couldn't control the heat. Every time he was close to Chujun, his body would react out of control like a raging fire, difficult to subdue. Suddenly, the room filled with a strange scent. Zukyu was speechless. Shu Fei, who was rummaging through the room, stopped. He sniffed the air, turned his head, and sniffed again. Do you smell something good? Yes, the underling replied, confused. It smells great. Chujun also realized what was happening. Why do I feel like something's touching me? He looked down and saw Yansu's fluffy foxtail had wrapped around him again. Chujun secretly thought, this is bad. I know how powerful Yansu's scent is. Even holding my breath is useless. He asked Yansu weakly, cousin, your demon fire is really strong. Do you need help? Yansu replied stiffly, no need. Chujun tilted her head behind the screen. Are you sure? The two outside, Zukyu, also enduring the torturous fragrance, looked outside, screaming in his heart, oh, SHT. He saw Shu Fei and the underling, intoxicated, hugging each other. Young master, you look so beautiful now, how come I didn't notice that before? The underling was completely drunk by the fragrance. It smells so good. I'm drunk. Then he fell to the ground. Yansu was still trying his best to endure. Chujun didn't intend to let Yansu go. She was touching him as she asked, do you really not need it? The two outside are getting more and more out of hand. The demonic emperor struggled to control himself, his demon fangs trembling. But the female demon didn't care, she kept stroking him, do you really not need help? In the next moment, Yansu directly grabbed Chujun's hand. Chujun, he called out her name. I want. Chujun understood immediately. Got it. It'll satisfy you. The aroma intensified. Zukyu just cursed in his heart, but didn't forget to cover Shikai's ears. Children shouldn't listen to this. After a while, the aroma in the room gradually faded. Yansu's forehead was covered in sweat, and his eyes showed a trace of complex emotions. Chujun was still not satisfied, as she had yet to get the tale she longed for. On the other side of the screen, Shu Fei and the underling had finally quieted down. Chujun glanced at their confused eyes. I feel like I'm not pure. Zukyu couldn't take it anymore. He kicked open the screen. He glanced at the two of them, don't die. If you don't leave now, you'll wait until they wake up. The general's mansion was no longer safe. Chujun glanced at Yansu. She picked up Shishi and walked out. The three of them temporarily returned to Yansu's residence. Chujun always had a question in her mind. She looked at Yansu and said, cousin, who is behind your entry into Jinya Temple? Zukyu was also curious. To get him out of the demon realm under the preceptor's nose, this kid must be capable. Shishi also chirped, yes. The preceptor is the most amazing. Zukyu was unhappy and snapped back, what? Is the preceptor your dad? Why are you praising him so much? The silly fox was speechless. He said softly, I just think he's so handsome, he must not be a bad person. Zukyu mocked Shishi, what kind of fox are you raising? It's like a brain-damaged creature. Shishi instantly went berserk, jumped up and smacked Zukyu on the head with his big tail. I'm not brain-damaged. You evil man. After cursing, Shishi still felt wronged and ran away crying. Chujun angrily glared at Zukyu. She kicked him. If you can't speak, then cut off your tongue, you fool. Zhu protested, he hit me, and he's acting like he was wronged. After noticing Yan Su's unpleasant gaze, Zhu replied, what are you looking at? What did I say wrong? That preceptor is a demon killer. That little fox says he's a good person. He doesn't know when his skin will be peeled off. Yan Su's eyes were like a cold spring and he nodded. You're right, but the Hu clan, he said, reaching for the vermilion bird's waist token, and forcefully moved it. The vermilion bird's heart ached, quickly apologizing and admitting its mistake. But Yan Su looked like it wasn't going to let him off the hook, causing the vermilion bird to retreat. With a sinister smile, Yan Su grabbed the vermilion bird and walked towards the kitchen. Chu Jun failed to catch Shi, and could only return to Yan Su. In the hall, Yan Su was sitting at the table drinking tea. Chu Jun asked him where is the vermilion bird. Yan Su coldly replied he's hanging out in the kitchen. Chu Jun felt a pang in his heart. He's finished. Moo also gasped, such a cruel fox. Chu Jun walked towards the kitchen with a playful look on his face. Song Ran was a demon, and she did this. It was that cold-faced cousin who did this. The vermilion bird was hanging upside down. Blood dripped down from his newly opened wound. Chu Jun laughed, is it painful? A little blood won't kill you. But Shi is going to be so happy. The vermilion bird grew even angrier, flapping his wings madly, producing a whirring sound. A noble bloodline fox, called a cripple. He ran back home in a fit of anger, but his father was ruthless and heartless. He directly plucked the vermilion bird's feathers and drained his blood. To enhance the core, Shi ran crying into the room looking for He Qing. He Qing looked up and saw Shi panting heavily. What happened, my little master? Shi jumped into He Qing's arms, feeling wronged. He Qing, someone said Daddy is a bad guy. He Qing was furious. Who would dare slander our master? Shi looked at He Qing, hopefully, the bad guy said Daddy killed many innocent demons. Daddy is innocent, right? He Qing was at a loss. Shi didn't know anything. If he said something, he would be dead. He could only comfort Shi, master knows what he's doing. You need to trust him. Shixai's eyes brightened. Of course. I will always trust him. But, the bad guy said Shi is a cripple. Shi looked listless. He Qing's eyes were burning with anger. Don't listen to that nonsense. Little master, your blood is extraordinary. When you grow up you will rule the world. Shixai's tail wagged happily, really? Is it really true? He Qing smiled, of course. Who is our little master? However, some things He Qing couldn't say. Shi was not young among demons, but after transforming into human form, he still looked like a 3-year-old child. His mindset was the same. It was still related to his bloodline. After all, Shixai's birth mother, He Qing sighed. In the manor, Yan Su was reading a book under the moonlight. Chu Jun walked over from behind with a smile. Cousin, what a passion for reading. You're reading in this darkness. He directly gave Yan Su 6 bottles of Snow Lotus. Jiu Daran asked me to give this to you. It's good to have friends in the court, one more ally. Yan Su wondered, does Chu Jun have relations with Jiu Daran? But these Snow Lotuses, he really didn't need them. Yan Su returned the Snow Lotuses to Chu Jun. Chu Jun didn't take it. If you don't want them, you can toss it out, or just keep it. Before leaving, he reminded Yan Su, don't forget about my Feifei. Yan Su looked at the Snow Lotus, feeling troubled. As soon as Chu Jun left, the trees beside Yan Su rustled. Shi poked his head out. Where's the bad brother, where is sister? Yan Su picked up Shi directly, follow me. Shi struggled in Yan Su's arms, bad guy. Murdered the vermilion bird. Inside the kitchen, the vermilion bird was still hanging upside down. Yan Su brought Shi to see the vermilion bird. Shi was jumping with joy, ha ha, you hairy chicken, you deserve it. Chu Jun had already returned to the Marquis manor. He summoned Ren Dong and ordered him to report his return to Zijun the next day. He rewarded Ren Dong with a pill. Ren Dong's eyes lit up. This is a 3rd-stage pill. This is worth at least 1,000 gold. Chu Jun said, if you take this pill, you can break through. As long as you serve me well, you will have many more rewards. Ren Dong was incredibly excited, willing to serve the princess. After Ren Dong left, Moo asked Chu Jun, the demon pact will control him. He shouldn't have any thoughts of betrayal. Why reward him? Chu Jun shook his head. Using magic to control people isn't a long-term plan. Our power is too weak. Having a loyal ally isn't a bad thing. Moo understood, that's right. Master is so far-sighted, Chu-jun chuckled. When the world is chaotic, who can refuse such a powerful temptation? A domineering demon took the initiative to be a lackey. Having finally been released, he didn't want to escape. His only wish was to return to the demon realm. Facing the threat, he was even a little impatient. It's a deal. The released demon was leisurely wagging his tail. Ji-Yuzhen found him eating. You stupid bull. All you think about is the demon realm, and not escaping. You're still loafing around here. The demon shook his head, looking at Ji-Yuzhen. It's you again, you annoying old man. Ji-Yuzhen, to prevent the demon from being captured again, reluctantly took out a wine flask. He smacked him with it, urging him to flee, but the demon stood like a stone, refusing to leave. Why isn't anyone trying to catch me? I'm hungry, Ji-Yuzhen threatened. They'll bring you back to the Jinya temple to fatten you up to eat. Steamed beef, braised beef, fried beef patties. The demon snapped. You terrible old man. I'm a cow, not beef. Ji-Yuzhen wiped off the saliva on his head, continuing to trick him. Cows are even more miserable. They will get bulls to impregnate you so you can give birth every year. He finished, and the demon's mind was enlightened. Wow, strong bulls. This is great. Ji-Yuzhen was anxious. Are you an idiot? The demon didn't care. Why do you humans care so much about my life or death? Ji-Yuzhen said righteously, you being a demon, is equivalent to saving my people for 10,000 years. I won't let them be burdened with more guilt. The demon lay back down. I just want to eat. And it would be better if there were some handsome male cows. Ji-Yuzhen was speechless. He knew that this was a lazy demon. After a moment, he said, go find someone and protect her. I'll make sure you have all the beautiful male and female demons you want. The demon perked up. Deal. Is it a deal? Let's go. He picked up Ji-Yuzhen and dashed off. In the Marquis manner, Chu-jun sneezed. Who's praising me? Moo was worried. Master, are you ill? Chu-jun scoffed. Nonsense. I am strong. But looking at his loot, Chu-jun sighed. I thought that the demon realm trip would help me replenish my supplies. But it's still too little. Moo was regretful. It's my fault for eating too much. I ate all of Master's food. Chu-jun shook his head and comforted Moo. You can suffer the children. You can eat as much as you want. Moo was touched and vowed to grow up as soon as possible to provide Master with more resources. The female demon had a lot of resources now, but the chubby child was distracted. All she thought about was dirty jokes. After returning, Huyaozi got jealous, crying, yelling, and demanding. In the Marquis manor, Chu-jun and Moo were still counting their loot, from the demon realm and from the Shueqian manor. Chu-jun looked at an unopened sword on the table. How do these demons get such trash? The sword was broken and worn, but when Chu-jun put her hand on it, she felt spiritual energy. Moo was surprised. Such a broken sword has spiritual energy. Chu-jun picked it up. If this was once a sword that nurtured a spirit, then it's definitely special. She swung it a few times. It was heavy, but the weight wasn't coming from the sword. Chu-jun tried to thrust it, and didn't put much strength in it. But when the unopened sword made contact, the target was cut in half. Moo examined the cut, noticing a problem. The cut is strange, like it was devoured. Chu-jun examined the sword. Perhaps the cuts are not from damage, but from an ancient force. Chu-jun couldn't figure it out, so when Moo asked if she could break the seal, Chu-jun could only shake her head. After putting the sword down, Chu-jun was drawn to a metal box next to her. What is this broken box? Even with all her strength, she couldn't open the box. Moo said, could this be a seal again? Chu-jun was annoyed. She threw the box to the side and slumped on the chair. Moo persuaded her, Master, don't be angry. There are still lots of things to count. She pointed to a corner of the room with several wooden boxes of different sizes. Chu-jun was tired. At times like this, she felt a pang of sadness. She needed a housekeeper. Moo reminded her, Master, have you forgotten something? Chu-jun was stunned. What is it? Moo reminded again, the mutated fish. Chu-jun smacked her head. Right, how could I have forgotten him? Chu-jun released the mutated fish from his space. The injured chubby child was shivering, afraid to lift his head, begging, Big brother, don't eat me. Chu-jun and Moo were curious. Lift up your head. Let me see. The mutated fish was shivering in fear, muttering, Brother, please spare me. My body is soft and can warm your bed. I can do anything. Chu-jun and Moo were speechless. Moo said, to be honest, this chubby fish isn't proper. Chu-jun asked the mutated fish, can you cause mutations? The fish shivered, swallowed, and stuttered, yes, I can. But I'm still a kid. Elder sister, do you really want me to serve you? It took Chu-jun 3 seconds to understand what he meant. She picked up the chubby fish by his fin. If you say another improper word, I will steam you. The little chubby fish begged repeatedly. Moo couldn't bear to watch. Master, what did this fish go through? You need to be gentle with him. Chu-jun said, expressionless, I am a cold-blooded demon. How would I know how to be gentle? The chubby fish was still crying, don't kill me. I'm a good fish. I don't do bad things. Moo reminded Chu-jun, Master, he seems badly injured. Chu-jun noticed that he only had 4 legs left, 2 were cut off. She then shoved a pill into the chubby fish's mouth. The chubby fish felt sweetness the moment he swallowed. The wounds on his body healed instantly. The chubby fish looked at his limbs in disbelief. Moo reminded him, quickly, thank my master. The chubby fish looked at Chu-jun, his face full of adoration, big sister is a good person. Im woo hui ni. Chu-jun told him to stay in the tent, and she would assign tasks to him. The chubby fish nodded frantically, expressing his pleasure. At that moment, a furry ball rushed in. Shishi was on the windowsill, posing, yelling, traitor. You didn't wait for me. But before she could finish, she noticed the chubby fish. Chu-jun smiled and called, Shishi, come in and meet your new little brother. The chubby fish was about to introduce himself, but Shishi burst into tears, you two-timer. You actually raised other demons behind my back. The little demon fox was so angry. Seeing her sister has a new beast, she started to cry. Chu-jun hurriedly picked up 1111, pinching his paw. This little fluff ball is so cute. 1111 is not happy. He waved his big tail. You're a bad person. You don't love me. Chu-jun continued to tease, even though you say I'm a bad person, do you think I'm worse than the state preceptor? Zix's protect daddy mode activated, you're not allowed to call the state preceptor bad. The rumors are all lies. The state preceptor isn't bad. Seeing the little fox so worried, Chu-jun asked, you seem to know the state preceptor well. Are you his spy? 1111 angrily turned his head, I am not. If you don't believe me, fine. Then 1111 changed the subject, looking at Xiaopang and saying, that fish looks so dumb. Can I eat it? Xiaopang immediately backed away, hiding under the table. Big bro, please don't eat me. I'm not delicious. Chu-jun laughed, telling 1111, from now on, here's your little bro. 1111 was happy. He immediately jumped in front of Xiaopang, acting like a big boss. Little bro, listen up, I'm your big boss from now on. Xiaopang quickly replied, yes, big boss, you're awesome. Do you need me to warm your bed? 1111 didn't understand what Xiaopang meant, and Chu-jun and Moo were doubled over with laughter. Next came Zix's spring outing and Xiaopang's flattery. Chu-jun asked Moo, what was my most popular potion back then? Moo said, it was ice jade dew. It's cheap to make, and it works fast. The mothers love it. Chu-jun was excited. That's my key to wealth. One morning, Chu-jun dressed up as before, waiting at the back door of my Fugui's house. But as time went on, she didn't see my Fugui. Moo said, did he oversleep? Just then, a rustling sound came from a dog hole. Moo looked closer, why not walk through the door? Why sneak through a hole? My Fugui crawled out, must be my silly old man's doing. Chu-jun smiled, who's playing a trick? My Fugui almost screamed in fright. My Fugui was surprised, Wumaishan. It's really you. Chu-jun opened the door, let's talk business, shall we? She pulled out a jar of ice jade dew. This potion can help people change their appearances. My Fugui smelled it. A grade 2 potion, I can try it. Want to try it? Chu-jun held out her hand, 50 gold taels per bottle. My Fugui didn't care about the gold. He reached into his pants. Chu-jun and Moo were shocked. Is he getting money from there? My Fugui said, don't worry. I'm looking for it. He pulled out a big silver ingot. Found it. Take it. Chu-jun backed away. Forget the money, we are close friends. Just do your thing. My Fugui threw the money back under his belt. You're so straightforward. Just like me. Chu-jun turned away. My Fugui swallowed the potion. The scar on his wrist disappeared. This potion is amazing. He immediately took the order. After they split, Chu-jun sighed. It's exhausting being poor. I hope he can sell it for a good price. Mumu said, I'm sure he will. Back at the manor, a servant reported someone's visit. Li, from the palace, wants to see you. Chujun thought, Li is the emperor's man. Why is he here? Did the royal advisor's prophecy come true? How scary the rumor. The story of the two men was spreading like wildfire. Even her brother was dragged into the rumors. At the manor, Zijun offered tea to Li. Chujun walked in and greeted Li. Li stood up. Servant Li Chun greets the princess. Mumu reminded Chujun that Li had a strange aura. Chujun felt it, too. Li Chun held up a box, saying it was a gift from the emperor to thank the princess for saving the fourth prince and fifth princess. Chujun knew the emperor was testing her. As he put the bracelet on, she felt a strange energy probing her. Mumu told Chujun that Li was testing her, but after testing her, Li didn't feel anything special on her. He left quickly after putting on the bracelet. Chujun didn't understand the emperor's intentions, and Mumu was angry. If he hurts you, you'll kill him. Chujun said calmly, he's just testing me. Don't worry, okay. Mumu was still angry. After Li Chun returned, he reported to the emperor about Chujun's situation. The emperor was a little surprised, but didn't say anything. No one knew what he was thinking. At the moment, the servant came to report that Jiyuzhen was here. Li Chun went back and Jiyuzhen came in. After the usual greetings, Jiyuzhen said he wanted to see the beast hall. The emperor asked Jiyuzhen if he had any impression of Chujun. Jiyuzhen said that they met once at Jinyao Temple. The emperor asked if Jiyuzhen thought anything was strange about Chujun. Jiyuzhen replied calmly, I heard about her performance in the beast space, but, according to my observations, her bloodline is not awakened. The emperor sighed, since she's joined Jinyao Temple, her fate is up to her. Jiyuzhen agreed, and then mentioned wanting to see the beast hall again. The emperor chuckled. Jiyuzhen didn't like Di Cheng, so he was happy to see. What happened later? When Chujun appeared, people started whispering. She was famous in Jinyao Temple. She not only led the stealing of beasts, but she also said she would sleep with the state preceptor. Talking about her words in the beast space, people remembered Shu Qianxi. The gossip changed again. Did you know Shu Qianxi and the third prince are related? Which one is on top? When the topic shifted to Shu Qianxi, even Shu Fei and Shu Tong were discussed. Chujun smiled. This is going exactly as planned. Chujun went up to Yan Su and asked, do you miss me? Yan Su was speechless, but gave up fighting in front of Chujun. Yan Su walked with Chujun, not because he wanted to, but he couldn't get away. Chujun sighed, cousin, you have to take responsibility for me. Yan Su didn't understand. For what? Chujun looked at Yan Su with puppy eyes. My pet beast needs a lot of money. Yan Su was straightforward. How much do you need? Chujun was happy. How much do you have? She held back the last half. Yan Su didn't know about being poor. He told her that he could help breed her beast. Chujun was surprised. That's expensive. Yan Su said he'd give it to her after getting his house back. Chujun thought Yan Su was a gold mine. She then asked Yan Su to find her a phoenix grass. Yan Su agreed. Looking at Yan Su's back, Chujun thought, cousin, you are so rich. Does your sister know? Yan Su almost tripped. The beast selection began. Some were happy, and some were sad. Chong Chi Yao sent Fei Fei to the female demon, to Jinyao Temple. Chujun was still teasing Yan Su. My Fugui arrived. Chujun, you're heartless. You forgot about me, now you have your cousin. Chujun laughed, I'm always thinking about you. Yan Su said, hurry up. My Fugui went up to Chujun, I'm going to give you something good. Chujun and Mumu had a bad feeling. They thought about my Fugui getting money from under his pants. Then, He Ching announced the new beast masters. In Jinyao Temple, everyone was equal, no matter your background. He Ching said they would each receive a beast box, given by the emperor. Chu Mingyu and Chu Mingzu were happy. Only some could have a demon beast. Many demon beasts would rather die than be tamed. My Fugui told Chujun, we're lucky, thanks to the fourth prince and Mingzu. He Ching gave the 2 boxes on the right to Chu Mingyu and Chu Mingzu. The 3 remaining boxes were given to Chujun and the rest. Chujun opened the box first. A fat cat with a lion's mane appeared at her feet. Chujun's face became meaningful. This is a Feifei. Chu Mingzu was surprised when she opened her box. It was a wind-hearing beast, not strong, but could travel long distances. Chu Mingyu got a snow wolf. After being released, it transformed into human form. My Fugui was stunned and envious. He Ching was surprised, it can turn into a human. This beast must be years old. All three looked at their beasts in amazement. Chu Jun said, cousin is good. He sent Feifei in a public place. Chu Mingzu noticed Chu Jun's beast. She asked Chu Mingyu, what is it? Chu Mingyu replied, Feifei is special. It can bring luck and happiness. Chu Mingzu thought, so it's just pretty. Chu Jun, you have terrible luck. Chu Jun happily petted Feifei's head. My Fugui patted Yansu's shoulder. Let's see what you got. After opening it, a chicken with no feathers jumped out. Chu Mingzu was shocked. A chicken? Where did this come from? My Fugui looked at the chicken. Is it a mutant? Chu Jun said, this is a special chicken. Mumu is worthy. Chu Jun pushed my Fugui away. This chicken is very special, don't touch it. My Fugui dodged. The chicken pecked the ground, making a loud sound. Chu Mingzu picked up his wind-hearing beast and stroked it. Chu Mingyu asked, will the chicken hurt people? It hasn't fully submitted. Yansu replied, it has recognized me as its master. Everyone was speechless when my Fugui patted his chest. Cousin, keep that chicken away. Chu Jun reassured him, cousin's beast is special. His control is good. Then she noticed that everyone was staring at her. My Fugui looked at the box in his hand. What is mine? Is it a treasure? The box opened. A golden giant jumped out. My Fugui was shocked. A skeleton. Are you kidding me? Others see blind boxes and get endless surprises, either fluffy toys or legendary demons. But this second generation's blind box opened up a Skylar. But few know that this seemingly useless Skylar is a treasure. Seeing what my Fugui opened, a Skylar, the onlookers burst into laughter. My Fugui squatted on the ground, refusing to accept reality, thinking he opened it wrong. The Skylar had shrunk to normal size, looking cute. When Chu Jun saw the Skylar, her eyelid twitched. Mumu was shocked. Fugui, what luck. You got a Luo Chong. That's not just any Skylar, but one that can evolve into a living weapon. My Fugui collapsed, yelling, no. Why would I want this? Am I supposed to take it to the battlefield? He grabbed He Ching's collar, looking hopeless. He Ching calmly said, if you don't want it, you can refuse. Are you sure? My Fugui was about to nod. Chu Jun grabbed his hand. She took out a knife and sliced his finger, dripping blood onto the Skylar. Blood contract complete. You can't run away now. Fugui looked at everything in disbelief. He yelled, Chu Jun. This is a Skylar. Chu Jun nodded, yeah, I think it suits you. After the blood contract, the Luo Chong nestled obediently against my Fugus hand. My Fugui reluctantly accepted it. He stared at the small Skylar in his hand. Except for Chu Mingyu and Chu Mingju, who chose fake volunteers. The others chose the real ones. Yansu also chose the real one under Chu Jun's encouragement. A moment later, Hu Daobiao, the instructor of the volunteers, spoke up. Now that the demon pets have been selected, it's time to get down to business. A powerful demon has been causing chaos. Your task is to kill it within 10 days. My Fugui complained, kill what? What kind of demon is it? Hu Daobiao didn't say much, just said he wouldn't watch, dismissed. After everyone dispersed, my Fugui pulled out a bottle of pills, giving it to Chu Jun Xiaojun. I'm telling you, this is a good thing. It will make you beautiful. Chu Jun was indifferent. She made this ice bath pill. She knew it was good. My Fugui turned around and gave Yansu a bottle. Cousin, trust me. You'll be irresistible with this. Yansu stared at the bottle. He didn't need these pills. He directly put the pill in his mouth. He satisfied his taste. Delicious, I want more. Chu Jun looked at Yansu, being so good to my fox, should I consider this love? Before Yansu could reply, his face changed. He quickly warned Chu Jun. Suddenly, a powerful force came at Chu Jun. Chu Jun was caught off guard. Her chest hurt and she spat out blood. The female demon was ambushed and was bullied in front of everyone. That person even dared to call her son trash in front of the demon emperor, and even threatened to kill the fox. The demon emperor protected her with great power. Before leaving the Jinya temple, a huge pressure came straight at Chu Jun. Chu Jun was caught off guard and spat out blood. Mumu quickly rushed to help Chu Jun. My Fugui and Yansu also rushed over, asking if Chu Jun was hurt. A shadow walked out from the window. The person had a triangular eyes and looked sinister. He stared at Chu Jun. He Ching scolded, Shu Wu, this is the Jinya temple, not a place for your recklessness. Shu Wu looked at He Ching and smiled, misunderstanding. I just came to say hello to the children. Mumu warned Chu Jun. Shu Wu is Shu Tiance's brother, and a subordinate of the general's mansion. His power is at the golden immortal realm. Chu Jun wiped the blood from her lips and laughed. So it's General Shu Wu. The general's family is so united. One got humiliated and the older one comes to stand up for them. Shu Wu stared at Chu Jun. You're sharp-tongued, but your mouth won't help. To stay alive, you need strength. Then, he whispered in Chu Jun's ear, so what if you're from the Chu family? Killing you is easier than killing a chicken. Chu Jun asked with a smirk, is that so? Shixai's hair stood on end. He wanted to speak, but only made hissing noises. Shu was killing intent deepened. The Chu family can kill members of their own family, but no one can kill the offspring of the Chu family. This little princess needs to be careful. Chu Jun's eyes were cold. Mu Mu was trembling with anger. Shu Wu didn't notice that Yan Su's expression had turned icy cold. He Qing remained calm. Shu Wu is really pushing it, bullying our mistress. Master is definitely angry. Shu Wu laughed coldly. I'm here on the emperor's orders. The Jinyao temple is nothing to me. I'm not afraid to tell you, the emperor has given me a reason to come here. Then, laughing, he walked out. As he was about to leave, Chu Jun stopped him. To everyone's shock, Chu Jun bit her hand and declared a blood oath. I will kill Shu Wu in 10 days. Shu Wu was also startled. He sneered, since you want to die, I will gladly fulfill your wish. Then, he left triumphantly. Mai Fugue gritted his teeth, that Shu family dog. Xiao Jun, you were too rash. Shishi also tugged at Chu Jun, worried. Yan Su looked at Chu Jun, by making the blood oath, you've made a pact with the heavens. Now, it's a fight to the death. Even if you are a member of the Chu family. You have to bow to the rules of heaven. Mai Fugue quickly pushed a pill into Chu Jun's hand, telling her to eat it. Chu Jun didn't refuse. After eating the pill, her breathing became smoother. Suddenly, a hand grabbed Chu Jun's. Yan Su told her not to move, and then carefully bandaged her wound. This shocked Mai Fugue. The cold cousin was so caring. He Qing couldn't believe it. When did the master learn this? There's something I don't know that happened at the Yao territory. Chu Jun seized the opportunity to act spoiled. It hurts, cousin. Why don't you blow on it? Yan Su didn't react. Chu Jun pouted slightly. Yan Su blew on it again. Yan Su didn't even look up. He tied the knot tight. Chu Jun gasped in pain. He's not easy to talk to. Yan Su turned to leave, coldly saying, if it hurts, then endure it. Mai Fugue said, he's cold but caring, he is worried about you. Chu Jun chuckled, I can feel his love. Mai Fugue replied awkwardly, I wouldn't say love. According to Shu Wu, Shu Qianxi was released without charge. That's just ridiculous. Chu Jun had already made up her mind to have a fight to the death with Shu Wu and Shu Qianxi. Seeing Chu Jun and Mai Fugue leave, He Qing said, this little princess is so impulsive. Daring to make a blood oath with Shu Wu. He Qing knew Chu Jun was tricky. Maybe, but Shu Wu probably won't live longer than 10 days. Chu Jun was about to step out of the Jinyao temple. Shu Wu was about to leave as well when suddenly, a pressure from the sky crashed down on him. Shu Wu spat out a mouthful of blood. He fell to the ground with a dojating shit, and even rolled over once. Chu Jun and Mai Fugue saw Shu Wu's embarrassing scene. Chu Jun sarcastically said, what do you know, anything can happen in the world. One moment you are on the top. And next, you are on the ground. Shu Wu roared, trying to stand up. But the pressure appeared again, preventing him from moving. Shu Wu knew who did this. Who else could do this? It's the state preceptor. You are bullying me. The female demon is bullied in front of everyone. The demon emperor protects his own with power, making the other party kneel before him. The moment before, Shu Wu bullied Chu Jun. The next moment, he was on the ground, kneeling like a dog in front of Chu Jun. He Qing was shocked. He didn't expect that the master would do this to Shu Wu at the gate of the Jinyao temple, and chose the moment when Chu Jun stepped out of the door. Shu Wu knew who was behind this and yelled, State Preceptor, you have gone too far. Chu Jun's eyes moved slightly. It was the State Preceptor's power. He Qing walked out of the Jinyao temple. Our master is just greeting you. He is still in seclusion. He'll send you off himself later. Feeling the pressure disappear, Shu Wu struggled to his feet. He looked at He Qing with killing intent, wanting to say something harsh, but then remembered that pressure and swallowed the words. The State Preceptor was too strong. After Shu Wu got on his horse, He Qing said politely, General Shu, take care. Come visit us anytime. Chu Jun chimed in, you better hurry. Or you'll be visiting the underworld soon. Shu Wu was furious, but could only swallow the humiliation. Chu Jun turned to ask He Qing, isn't the master in seclusion? Doesn't he ignore the outside world? He Qing smiled, the Jinyao temple does not allow any recklessness. It is the rule. Shu Wu, who was not far away, spoke out in anger. He vowed to destroy the Jinyao temple, but he didn't notice the danger quietly approaching from behind. The next moment, he felt like someone hit him hard in the back of the head. His vision went black, and he fainted. Ji Yuzhen looked at Shu Wu in anger. How dare you bully my disciple's granddaughter? You think that Chu Jun has no one to stand up for her. Ji Yuzhen started punching Shu Wu. A junior said, why not just kill him? Ji Yuzhen hit him as he scolded Shu Wu, you dare to bully the weak. You are shameless. The junior turned and asked, are you not bullying him? Ji Yuzhen said with a straight face, I am teaching him a lesson. Chu Jun wasn't feeling well either. She clearly felt how familiar the ancient power used by Yan Su was. Yan Su, the state preceptor, the fox, the demon. Chu Jun's worldview was collapsing. Suddenly, a small, furry paw knocked on the door. It was Shi and Chu Quan. Shi told Yan Su that the state preceptor had taught Shu Wu a lesson. After speaking, she added, I told you the state preceptor is a good person. That featherbrain just talks nonsense. Chu Jun was angry. She wanted to tell Shi that the state preceptor was right in front of her. Yan Su asked Chu Jun calmly, are you okay? Chu Jun didn't answer Yan Su. She said to Shi, little fox, did you forget there's someone else here? Yan Su pondered, is Chu Jun angry because I hurt her earlier? Shi finally realized it and put her paw on Chu Jun's mouth. At this time, my fugus worldview was being restarted. How amazing, a fox can talk. Yan Su acted as always. It's getting late, I need to cultivate. Soon after, He Qing came to look for Yan Su, holding a gift from Chu Jun. Could the disappearance of the peach tree be related to Chu Jun? He was shocked. Chu Jun was too brave to give it away. The state preceptor said calmly, she probably guessed it. He Qing knew that the state preceptor was referring to when he helped Chu Jun cover up the disappearance of the peach tree. How did Chu Jun guess that? The state preceptor only said, because he never. Then, he asked He Qing to have Shi deliver the sky luo jade fruit to Chu Jun. The female demon grabbed her sister's neck and lifted her up. Then, she aimed it at the other person's eyes, ready to destroy the entire rotten being. A few minutes ago, Chu Jun patted Shi in her arms. Shi told Chu Jun that her daddy had told her to bring the sky luo jade fruit to her sister. After receiving the fruit, Chu Jun took Shi out to meet Yan Su. Just as she walked out, Chu Jun saw Zi Feifei blocking the way, staring at her with a sinister look. Zi Feifei laughed coldly. I heard you had to see. Chu Jun was silent for a moment. Suddenly, she said, I knew something was missing. Zi Feifei knew that something was wrong and backed away. Chu Jun was like a demon approaching Zi Feifei. Heh? You brought this on yourself. Don't blame me. Saying this, she grabbed Zi Feifei's neck and lifted him up. Then, she pulled a hairpin from Zi Feifei's head. Zi Feifei tried to counter, but before he could react, he felt like his soul couldn't move. Chu Jun held the hairpin up to Zi Feifei's eyes. After an attack, Zi Feifei screamed in pain and fell to the ground. Chu Jun looked down at him. You can't defeat me, but you still dare to provoke me. Are you trying to die? Zi Feifei's eyes were bloodshot, and he was missing a piece of hair. It revealed the face. His true face. Chu Jun threw away the hairpin and said, you think you are worthy to cause trouble for me? I'll let you have some excitement first. Watching Chu Jun's back as she left, Zi Feifei was powerless. He could only curse Chu Jun. Before leaving, she spat at Zi Feifei, Chui, you bad woman. Zi Feifei, seeing a talking fox, completely broke down, shaking her head and screaming. Wang Shi, upon hearing about her daughter's suffering, rushed over immediately. Seeing her daughter's face, she felt pity. Her face wasn't healed, and now she lost an eye. Zi Feifei trembled in pain, crying in Wang Shi's arms, begging her mother to avenge her. But Wang Shi smiled. There's a new miraculous method that can change a person's face. I will find it for you, and in a few days, I will have Chu Jun's left eye for you. After leaving the mansion, Chu Jun asked 1111, what was the use of the saliva you spat on her? 1111, resting on Chu Jun's shoulder and wrapping his tail around her neck said, that woman hurt my sister, and also ruined her eye. Baby just pretended to spit saliva. It's actually poison. Baby is amazing. Soon, her face will rot away. Anyway, she doesn't need it. They just reached the city gate. Chujun saw Meifugui waving at her from afar. A cold, calm figure stood next to Meifugui. Chujun walked over. Just as Yansu was about to speak, Chujun waved her hand. Move aside, I'm here. Yansu looked at Chujun, a bit frustrated and helpless in his eyes. Although he knew that Chujun was still angry, he didn't say anything more. Meifugui was worried inside. My foolish cousin, how will you get her to like you like this? 1111 saw Yansu's disappointment. The little silly fox was really concerned for his brother Xiangxia. A man lay on the floor. His distraught people were around him, all wearing. The royal-eyed man at the front spoke. The demon lord bestowed this body for her vessel. Now, your organs will become our will. After saying this, the man extended his hand, his nails turning sharp. He slowly placed his hand on the mouth of the man lying on the floor, demonic energy enveloping him. With the sound of sucking and tearing, the man's eyes rolled back, and a large amount of blood spewed out. The royal-eyed man's expression turned arrogant. He held up the fresh, warm organ head just taken. A robe floated in the air, and a voice spoke from it. We are the most loyal children of Chui. Bring the Lord back, and we shall be reborn. Chujun's group's mission was to solve the issue with this evil. But Chujun didn't know that the evil they had to face called himself Chui. Her name from her previous life. Inside the carriage, Meifugui and 1111 were sleeping soundly. Bored, Chujun decided to go and look at the front. She just opened the curtains when she heard Yansu warn her, be careful. Chujun said nothing, silently sitting next to Yansu. After a moment of silence, Yansu apologized. My attitude yesterday was bad. I'm sorry. Chujun was surprised that a cold beauty like Yansu would apologize sincerely. She chuckled, saying, it's okay. I just unilaterally broke up with you for a day. Is my cousin willing to be friends with me again? Yansu nodded, a rare smile appearing on his face. Chujun mischievously started again. She patted Yansu's shoulder. My cousin is indeed a good cousin. Yansu immediately became cold again, saying she was glib. Chujun said, how did you know I was glib? Did you try to kiss me secretly? One teased, one rejected. It was like a childish game. Soon, the carriage entered a village. The wind brought a wave of heat. Meifugui pouted. This fire is stronger than I can create. Chujun glanced at Meifugui. You're too modest. Yansu was visibly uncomfortable. He, a descendant of the demon ancestors, was sensitive to spiritual energy, and such a place was torment to him. Suddenly, a person ran over and asked, are you the masters who have come to drive out the evil? The three turned around. Two villagers looked at them expectantly. Great. We've finally waited for you. Meifugui was confused. How did you know we were coming? The villager was taken aback by the question. The big guy, named Li Ergu, didn't think too much. He nodded enthusiastically. The evil rat has been found. We're just waiting for your help. Chujun frowned. Rat evil. A rat evil is a land-eating entity. Where there is a rat evil there is chaos, but the villagers are fine. It's a contradiction. Li Ergu brought out a cage. Inside, a big rat squeaked. This is the rat evil we caught. Just kill it. Chujun lowered her head and looked at the cage. Wow, it's a big one. Meifugui looked at the fat rat. Are you stupid or am I? This is just a fat rat. Li Ergu explained with a smile. Here's the rat evil master. Meifugui was speechless. If this is the rat evil, then my backyard is the rat evil's nest. Li Ergu pointed. Their lair is over there. Chujun and her group looked where Li Ergu was pointing. It was a tightly closed, run-down hut. Yansu and Chujun sensed that it was indeed a source of evil. The female demon made her move again. She showed no mercy to those who provoked her. With just a few words, she made her opponents commit suicide on the spot. Chujun and Yansu were about to go to the hut, when a familiar voice came from behind. It's you three. They turned around. It was Chumingzu and Chumingle, followed by Yinani, all from the fake resources team. Chujun teased Chumingzu a few times. Chumingzu cut to the chase. Princess, let's get down to business. Chujun nodded casually. It seems our mission is the same. She pointed at the cage in Li Ergu's hand. Is this the evil? Let's just kill it. Chumingzu scoffed. You believe this villager's nonsense? A villager caught a cat and said it was an evil. And they still want money from us. Do we look that easy? Mei Fugui glared at Li Ergu. What is your purpose? Li Ergu and the villager panicked and threw away the cage, running away as fast as they could. Chu Mingzu was about to have her men chase them, but Chu Jun stopped her. Li Ergu and that villager were not lying. They are just following tradition. After pretending to chase away evil, they get to stay at the location of the evil's energy for a day. Chu Jun pointed at the hut emitting the evil energy. That's where we need to go. Chu Mingzu also sensed the strong demonic energy. Chu Jun called everyone to go over there, but Jizun, who followed Chu Mingle, told Chu Jun to go first. Mei Fugui didn't agree. Why should little Chu Jun go first? Why don't you go? Jizun said arrogantly, we're your seniors. You should listen to us. Ming Ming added, if you're not convinced, go find the state preceptor. You're just a small potato, challenging a great general. Yan Su was speechless. A hint of anger flashed across his face. Chu Jun casually picked at her ear and said, your mouths are so stinky. Did you just eat feces? Jizun and Ling Meng's expressions changed. Who are you calling feces? Before they could explode, the surrounding spiritual energy fluctuated. Chu Jun's voice, like a demonic sound, echoed, kneel. As soon as she spoke, Jizun and Ling Meng knelt on the ground. Her words of power suppressed them, and their bodies didn't obey them. The two were shocked. Chu Jun's spiritual power was above theirs. Even Chu Mingzu and Chu Mingle were surprised. Jizun yelled angrily, Chu Jun, don't go too far. Chu Jun smiled coldly, such beautiful mouths, it's a pity not to beat them up. Jizun and Ling Meng trembled, they were powerless before Chu Jun. Their hands began to uncontrollably hit their own faces. Chu Jun snorted and turned around, signaling others to leave. After the five left, a pair of yellow eyes stared at the hut they were leaving. Chu Mingzu shivered, and looked back suddenly. She saw a pair of eerie yellow eyes. Chu Mingzu was so shocked she jumped. Chu Mingle asked what was wrong. Chu Mingzu nervously said that she saw yellow eyes. In order to get medicine, the prince and princess did not hesitate to go to the dangerous place in person, but their companions had already returned and didn't realize it. It turned out the big boss behind it was related to the female demon. The group was about to walk towards the hut emitting the evil energy, but Chu Mingzu said she saw scary yellow-eyed people. Everyone looked around but didn't see anything. Chu Mingzu insisted she did see it. She pointed to a house, saying that they hid in the house. 1111, on Yansa's shoulder, whispered, baby also saw them. The yellow-eyed people looked like they wanted to eat Sister Baozi and her brothers. Chu Jun laughed strangely, saying is the blood of the Chu family that delicious? Yansu glanced at Chu Jun, you're also from the Chu family. Saying this, Chu Jun started to tease Yansu again. Does cousin also think my flesh is delicious and wants a bite? Yansu instantly blushed, his scent becoming a bit stronger. But Chu Jun turned serious. She walked to the house and kicked the door open. Immediately, a pungent stench filled the air. Mei Fugui and Chu Mingle covered their noses and mouths. Chu Jun smiled at the scene. Rotten corpses were piled up, and rats crawled over them. Mei Fugui asked from behind, what's inside? Little Chu Jun just said, a pile of excrement. Then she used a spell to disperse the stench. Yansu crouched down to check the people. Their organs have been taken. It seems there's a real evil. Suddenly, a scream came from behind. They turned to look. Jizun and Ling Meng ran towards them. They screamed, help us. As they got closer, Mei Fugui pinched his nose. So stinky. What did you guys fall into? Jizun panicked. The yellow-eyed people threw excrement at us. Yansu whispered, they are not covered in excrement, but flesh and blood. Chu Mingzu was shocked. She saw them covered in excrement. Chu Jun dispelled the illusion. They finally saw what Jizun and Ling Meng were covered in. It was indeed flesh. Mei Fugui was shocked. Are the yellow-eyed people demons? Chu Jun said, even if they aren't demons, they are definitely not human. Chu Mingle told Jizun and Ling Meng to return to the Zhenyao temple, but Jizun refused. Both of them adamantly said they wouldn't leave, not sure what their aim was. Chu Jun didn't pay attention to them and began to analyze the current situation. Yellow eyes, killing, it sounded like the characteristics of a demon. Yansu, taking Chu Jun's words, asked, Di Young Ghost. What is Di Young Ghost? Yansu explained to everyone, Di Young Ghosts can use demonic energy to change humans' organs into mud. Those people will become puppets controlled by the Di Young Ghost. Jizun and Ling Meng looked a bit nervous. Chu Jun glanced at the two. young ghosts are not strong. It's just the demonic energy they use is troublesome to deal with. Then, she called over Chu Mingzu and Chu Mingle, saying there was something to discuss with them. Chu Jun whispered with them. Mei Fu Gui also leaned over to listen. So, Chu Jun's plan was to use Chu Mingzu and Chu Mingle. Chu Mingle was a bit worried. Isn't it too risky? Chu Jun smiled mischievously. How can you get a tiger cub without going into the tiger's den? Chu Mingle and Chu Mingzu felt their spines tingle with cold sweat. It was late at night, and only insects chirping could be heard. Chu Mingle and Chu Mingzu were walking around the village. Chu Mingzu shivered, saying she was a bit scared. Chu Mingle held her hand to comfort her. Suddenly, a voice came from beside them, Your Highness, Princess. Chu Mingzu and Chu Mingyu turned around, startled. They were surprised to see Jizun and Ning Meng. Jizun said, We've discovered the demon's lair. Ning Meng added, It's over there. Please follow us. Chu Mingzu and Chu Mingyu were suspicious. The female demon's actions were shocking once again. A perfect somersault in the air, she landed directly into the enemy's encirclement. Her entire body was then restrained. Meanwhile, Chu Mingzu and Chu Mingyu were wary of the enemy. They just happened to meet Jizun and Ning Meng. They said that they had discovered the demon's lair, and urged Chu Mingyu to hurry, or the demon would escape. Chu Jun, who was hiding in the shadows, understood. Jizun and Ning Meng were indeed the traitors. Yan Su asked if they should follow.